April the 19th through the 23rd. Go ahead and make sure you have this packet out, please. It is lesson 9. We're going to talk about summarizing bivariate categorical data. So our goal here is to distinguish between categorical data and numerical data, and to summarize data into two categorical variables collected from a sample using a two-way frequency table. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at this. It says, recall from your work in grade 6 and grade 8 that categorical data are data that are not numbers. Bivariate categorical data results from collecting data on two categorical variables. In this lesson, you will see examples involving categorical data collected from two survey questions. Alright, so let's look at our exploratory challenge. Superheroes have been popular characters in movies, televisions, books, and comics for many generations. Superman was one of the most popular series in the 1950s, while Batman was a top-rated series in the 1960s. Each of these characters was also popular in movies released from 1990 to 2013. Other notable characters portrayed in movies over the last several decades include Captain America, She-Ra, and the Fantastic Four. What is special about a superhero? Is there a special superhero power that makes these characters particularly popular? High school students in the United States were invited to complete an online survey in 2010. Part of the survey included questions about superhero powers. More than 1,000 students responded to this survey that included a question about a favorite superhero power. 450 of the completed surveys were randomly selected. A rather confusing breakdown of the data by gender was compiled from the 450 surveys. 100 students indicated that their favorite power was to fly. 49 of those students were females. 131 students selected the power to freeze time as their favorite power. 71 of those students were males. 75 students selected invisibility as their favorite power. 48 of those students were females. 26 students indicated super strength as their favorite power. 25 of those students were males. And finally, 118 students indicated telepathy was their favorite power. 70 of those students were females. What's the most popular superhero power? Alright. If you go back and look, the most popular would be to freeze time with 131 students. What was the least popular superhero power? Going back and looking, super strength with 26 students. Why would the survey include gender? Why are we wanting to know male or female? Well, maybe they're looking to see if whether or not there's a difference in the selection of superpowers between male and females. Do you think gender plays a role in superhero power preference? If you look, there may or may not be. It's kind of an opinion question here. In most cases, there are differences in the selection of superhero powers by males and females. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at our questions. It says several superheroes portrayed in movies and television series had at least one extraordinary power. Some superheroes had more than one special power. Was Superman's power to fly the favorite power of his fans, or was it his super strength? Would females view the power to fly differently than males, or in the same way? Use the survey information given in example 1 to answer the following questions. How many more females than males indicated their favorite power was telepathy? Well, let's go and look at telepathy. It says a total of 118 students said they liked telepathy. 70 of those students were females. Alright, so 118 students, 70 were female. So it wants to know how many more females than males. So I have to figure out how many males. So I need to subtract this. 48 were male. Alright, so how many more females than males indicated their favorite power was telepathy? So now I'm going to do 70 minus 48. Alright, and that gives me 22 more. Alright. How many more males than females indicated their favorite power was to fly? So let's go up here to fly. We had 100 total students. 49 of those were female. Alright. Which means I need to figure out how many male wanted to fly. So I subtract and I get 51 male. So then how many more males? So 51 minus 49 would be 2. So there were 2 more males that indicated their favorite power was to fly than females. Write survey questions that you think might have been used to collect this data. So what do you think we might have asked? Well, probably the first question would be, what is your gender? And they probably put, check which one you are, male or female. All right. Obviously, another question that would be asked is, if you could have one superpower, what would it be? Now, they probably have given choices because you think about it, superpowers, there's many, many, many superpowers that we could have. So they probably said, okay, you can choose between to fly. You could probably choose freeze time. All right, you could choose invisibility. What else was it? Super strength. And the last one was telepathy. So they probably gave choices here because we don't have a bunch of superpowers. How do you think the 450 surveys used in example 1 might have been selected? You can assume that there were 1,000 surveys to select from. So how do you think they chose the surveys? Looking at the data, they probably just did a random selection. In other words, they just chose 450 without looking at their answers first. So they probably just did a random selection. Like I said, looking at that data. The data in example 1 prompted students in the mathematics class to pose the statistical question, do high school males have different preferences for superhero powers than high school females? Answering this statistical question involves collecting data as well as anticipating variability in the data collected. The data consists of 2 responses from each student completing a survey. The first response indicates a student's gender, and the second response indicates the student's favorite superpower. For example, data collected from one student was male and to fly. The data are bivariant categorical data. The first step in analyzing the statistical question posed by the students in their mathematics class is to organize this data in a 2-way frequency table. A 2-way frequency table that can be used to organize the categorical data is shown below. The letters below represent the frequency counts of the cells of the table. All right. So looking at this, you see how many males, how many females chose to fly, freeze time. All right, so there's these letters. The shaded cells are called marginal frequencies. So the shaded cells here are what we call marginal frequencies. They are located around the margins of the table and represent the totals of the rows or columns of the table. Alright, so marginal frequencies represent the total. So in other words, they added the total number to fly. They added the total number to freeze time. They added the total number of females, the total number of males. The non-shaded cells within the table are called joint frequencies. Alright, so these are joint frequencies. Each joint cell is a frequency count of the response from the two categorical variables located by the intersection of a row and column. Okay? Alright, so why is the question posed a statistical question? If you remember, a statistical question is a question that is answered by data, and that it's anticipated that the data will vary. Alright, so I'm collecting data. That's why it's called a statistical question. Alright, this question is a statistical question because we collect the responses, our data, and you expect that the responses will vary. So I don't expect everybody to be female, and I don't expect everybody to choose to fly, or I don't expect everybody to be male, and I don't expect everybody to freeze time. So there's going to be variability. Alright? Alright, what is the difference between categorical and numerical data? Categorical data and numerical data are different. Categorical data does not include numbers. Numerical data is. Alright? The answer to questions such as the superhero power involve responses that are categories. So going back here, this was all categorical data. Alright? Because they only answered male or female, or what kind of superpower they wanted. The numerical data is provided when I start counting up these numbers. We have looked at numerical data in past lessons. Alright? So then we have this two-way frequency table. Alright? So let's talk about a couple of things. Looking at this two-way frequency table, is it possible to switch the row and column categories? So so here's my column categories. These are my rows. So what I want to know is it possible for this to be female and male, and for this to be to fly, to freeze time, invisibility? Can I do that? Yes, I can. I can use male and female as column headings, and all of my superpowers as row headings. Alright, it won't change my data. Alright, so let's go ahead and answer some questions. Describe the data that would be counted in cell A. So if I go back and look at cell A, what is that going to tell me? Cell A is going to tell me the number of females who chose to fly. Okay? So that's what cell A is going to tell me. Go and look at cell J. Cell J is right here, and that is going to tell me the number of males that chose super strength. Okay. What is the data in cell L? Let's go to cell L. Here's cell L, and cell L represents the total of males who completed the survey. Describe the data that would be counted in cell N. So let's look at cell N, and that would be here. Cell N would be the total number of male and female students that chose freeze time. So we can say the total number of students that chose to freeze time. Now we're not looking at male or female, we're looking at the total number of students that chose freeze time. Okay? Describe the data that would be counted in cell R. Going back to cell R, that's right here. So what do you think is going to go there? Cell R represents the total number of students in the sample. In other words, the total number of students that were surveyed. Okay? The total number of students in the sample. Cell I is the number of male students who selected invisibility as their favorite superpower. Using the information given in example 1, what is the value of this number? Alright, so we want to know the number of males that selected invisibility. So let's go to invisibility. And it said 75 students selected invisibility. And it tells me that 48 of those students were female. So in order to figure out how many male, I'm going to subtract. Alright, so I get 27 males. That would be what would go in cell I. Cell D is the number of females whose favorite superpower is super strength. Using the information given, what is the value of this number? Alright, so we are looking at super strength. 26 students indicated super strength. 25 of those students were male. So how many were female? If I subtract those, I get one female. Chose super strength. Okay? Alright, so now complete the table by determining the frequency count for each cell based on the summarized data. Alright, so let's go back and look what we have figured out. So there were telepathy, we did telepathy, was 70 females and 48 males. Alright. We did to fly was 49 female and 51 male. Alright. And I can go ahead and add this up. That would give me 100. I can add this up. That would give me 118. Alright. Let's look and see what else we figured out. So we figured out that invisibility was 48 female and 27 males. So once again, I can add those up, so that's 1575. Alright, we did super strength was 25 male and 1 female. So that gives us a total of 26. Alright, then we've got to look at freeze time. I don't think that we did freeze time here. So freeze time was 71 male. And there were a total of 131 students. So 131 minus 71 would give us 60 female. Alright. Now we need to add these numbers together. So we can do this really quickly. So 49 plus 60 plus 48 plus 1 plus 70 should give us a total of 228 females that were surveyed. 51 plus 71 plus 27 plus 25 plus 48 gives us 222 males that were surveyed. This should add up to what? It should add up to 450. There's 10, 5, so I get 450. And you can check and make sure all of this adds to 450. This should add to 450, and there's your table. All right. So categorical data are data that take on values that are categories rather than numbers. Examples include male or female, or the choice of a superpower. A two-way frequency table is used to summarize what we call bivariate categorical data. The number in a two-way frequency table at the intersection of a row and a column is the response to the two categorical variables represents a joint frequency. Alright, so these are joint frequencies. And then these are what we call the marginal frequencies, the total number of responses. Alright guys, this lesson wasn't too difficult and not too long. Hopefully you found it easy, and we'll talk to you later.